Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the SC WEN podcast. I'm Sarah Blake.
I'm Courtney Boomer.
And we have another wonderful episode for you guys today. Again, we are here to talk about all of the good, bad, and ugly that comes with being a woman in business. And whether you are building your own business or you are a crucial part in a company in the business world, or maybe you are a mom that is building a side business, hoping that becomes into your full-time thing one day. All of those, are something that we want to provide encouragement for you, and we just want to open up the door to some of the conversations that, to be honest, we can't have in most rooms. And so that's where this podcast was born. The topic we've got for you today is the cost of saying yes too often. And I love this topic so much because I say all the time that I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I think, I'm really curious to talk about today if it is truly a personality thing or if it is a nature of women in general. Because I think we were created to be nurturers.
Yeah.
We were created to serve and to be caregivers. And so it kind of makes me think that there's probably a piece of this that is just ingrained into who we are as women. But I'm curious about your feedback to this question, Courtney. Why do you think women default to yes? Is that a struggle that you experience or have experienced, or have you seen other women that have experienced it? If it's not for you, talk a little bit about it.
So I'll start with, I do not struggle with this. I know we have had this conversation before, but I also am not like what you would say like most women. I think very analytical, very logical. I am not on the emotional side of things. So for me, it's very easy to say if it's not logical, it doesn't make sense, it's just a no. So I am not a people pleaser. It's a pro and a con, honestly, because there's been many times that it did not serve me to handle things the way that I handle them. And again, I'm never rude, but I'm just very blunt. And so Greg very often has to soften my messages because he has a very high emotional intelligence. And so he'll be like, they're not going to perceive that the way you think they're going to perceive that. We need to fix that.
Tweak.
Yes. So I don't personally struggle with it from a sense of everyday life. Now there are instances and situations that we can get into that I have dealt with I can totally do that and saying yes too much. But from just a general standpoint, I don't. But I see women all the time who do. And again, I'm not speaking to my own experience. I'm speaking to what I've seen. But I think it's either I need to say yes all the time so I can get ahead because I'm trying to do this both wife or mother or whatever, and then business. And I can't get up here if I just don't say yes all the time, which is not the case. It's not true. But in the season and in that situation when you're really trying to climb, it feels like that. And then from the other side of it, it was just being nurturing and all this and that. It's oh yeah, I can figure it out. Oh yeah, we'll make it work. And it's no, you don't always want to do that. So
yeah, there's a piece of it where it's you're required, when you're growing a business, you're pushed outside your comfort zone, so you're required to say yes more.
Yes.
And depending on your personality, I've had women that I've met that have said, I'm saying yes to things that I really, really don't want to do, but I know they're important to do. And then you have women like me who want to say yes to everything because I just want to be a part of everybody's story. I naturally have that want to. It's very hard for me to come to the concept that I'm not everybody's cup of tea and that not everybody will be a piece of the story. That's a really hard piece of the pie because I'm a firm believer that we rise together. And that there has to, let's just all rise up together, but it's just not that reality. And so I respect you a ton that you can look at it from an analytical sense, because I definitely operate more on an emotional spectrum, which can bring its own hurdles, because while my brain may be telling me no, my emotions want me to say yes. And I have really had to work through this because, as you have probably experienced a little bit or watched other people experience it, when you say yes too much and then you overcommit yourself, then you get the pleasure of being able to of backing out of those things and feeling even worse.
Oh.
Because then you have to pedal backwards and say, well, I overcommitted a little bit too fast. And realizing, it took me some time to realize that me not being honest on the front end about, hey, I'm just not able to work this into my schedule right now. Or to be honest, it's just, hey, it's just not something I can do. I have other priorities in my business. You end up harming relationships and hurting yourself more by having to back out of them later.
Yep.
It's not easy. It's not fun, but I think it's a walk that a lot of us have to figure out. What is that line? And I will also say something that I really had to identify, and it's different with every business, is what acts, what meetings are revenue producing.
Yeah.
And that I should be saying yes to, and what are not. And I think there is that season in every business where it just feels like a free-for-all, and you're saying yes to everything because you have to.
Yeah.
Because you have to experiment and see what even works and what doesn't. And then you have to relearn not to do that. It is, as we all say, it is an adventure. It is a journey.
Yes, it is. But you have a point there. There are seasons and there are times where you do have to say yes, but there's still a balance of, like, you don't have to say yes to literally every single thing. No. So for example, like, I will have friends or people who, they don't own businesses or they don't understand the weight of growing a business and having and choosing to take it to the next level of, I sacrifice other things to make this happen.
Yeah.
And so I often find myself saying no to a lot of personal things. And I tend to say in this season, and I'm saying yes to more business things, and I'm choosing that. But like, for example, with my kids, I'll be like, mommy has to go to work and I have to do this. And I was talking with Greg the other day about how I'm subbing in a BNI group. And she said, well, my daughter said, well, why don't you just tell them no? And I said, that's a great question. I said, I actually want to go and sub, but that means that I'm saying no to some of the work that I was going to get done during that time, and I have to push it down. I said, but mommy wants to go do that. I just have to rearrange my schedule. And she was like, oh. Like, for her, which I was really proud of her, she's like, why don't you just say no? And I'm like, good for you, girl. You're 7, and you're like, just say no.
She's getting it.
But she also told me the other day that she thinks she's just not the type of person who likes to be around people. So I think...
Oh, she's not saying that, you don't like to be around people, but she sounds like she's more like her mama.
It's a hard split. She's very emotional, but she's got a lot of analytics behind her too.
I love it.
But it's just, it's the reality of that. Also, that means that I'm not home as much.
Yeah.
And so I just explained to the kids, like, hey, we want to do cool things, and mommy's growing a business, which is really awesome. But like, that means that sometimes mommy can't do things, or we can't always go do X, Y, Z because we have other plans. It's not always work related. Sometimes it's other commitments, and we can't do everything. And that sucks sometimes, to say no to the personal stuff or the friends or whatever, but I think there's also a level of, we have to prioritize. So one of my best friends, we get coffee once a month. We both work remote. I half work remote now. I have an office, but she has a young baby. Like, we have 4 kids, and so we've set a priority that once a month we will go get coffee, and that's like, and we'll make it like a 2-hour block. So it's like, when we're going and committed, but then we can catch up and we can talk about things that aren't children and, stuff, like really just like pour into each other. And that's one of those things where it's like a hard yes on the calendar, so that I'm not saying, no to all these different things or yes to all these different things. Like, it's prioritizing when your yes needs to make sense.
I bet it's hard, even though you know that that's a priority on your schedule. I bet there are constantly things knocking on your door trying to get you to bump that time or move that time or cancel it.
There's always stuff that's a juggle, and it's hard for us because we're in a season where our kids are in activities, and that means that my work really has to stop between 2:30 and 3 o'clock every day. Yeah. Which sometimes sucks, because if I'm in the groove and I'm like, oh, now I got to stop, I got to leave, I got to drive and take kids to dance or whatever, like, it stinks, but I'm also like, you know what, like, I get to work earlier. Yeah. Like, I can choose to go into work at 7 if I want to. Yeah. To make up that lost time. Yeah.
Someone close to us recently said this, and it has been something I keep singing, but it's like, every no is allowing you the time to say yes to the things that actually matter. Yes. And when she said that, I was like, yes. Preach.
It's empowering.
It is empowering because I think no has, for me anyways, for a long time I felt like no was negative or it was mean. And I'm not sure why or what that was connected to, but I felt like yes was the polite thing to do for a long time. And maybe that's kind of where some of the people pleasing comes into play, because it's like saying no to your face is kind of uncomfortable. Maybe it could be a confrontation thing, but now and continuing to hear from other women that are implementing and really being mindful of their time, because you have to, but also just having those little gentle reminders of things like that, something that simple, is really powerful and really encouraging, because it makes you realize that you don't have to run yourself ragged, that you can actually enjoy your life and build the life that you want. And there's got to be systems in place.
Right.
There's got to be the right parameters and the right people in place to do it, but you can build the life as long as you're wise with your time, because nobody is going to respect your time more than you.
100%. And again, it comes down to communication. Like a few weeks ago, we were supposed to meet. And I said, Sarah, I did not sleep last night. Our meeting is going to be so unproductive. Like, can we reschedule? And you're like, absolutely.
Easily.
We have the relationship that I can, honestly, no matter who it was, I was going to tell them that. Yeah. But I know that I can come to you, and I know, like, I'm not worried about how you'll receive it.
Yeah.
Because I know you're like, you know what, I understand. She wouldn't reschedule on me if it wasn't important.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't want to show up and waste our time because I didn't know how to put words together because I didn't sleep.
Which is valid and just part of the journey. Yes. It's just part of the journey. Yeah, talk a little bit about how like what a grounded no looks like, or even how yes can create overwhelm or just negative feelings for you, whichever one feels most natural.
I'm going to do the second half because, like I said, for me, it's really easy to say no because, again, I know what boundaries and things have to be in place to make things work. So I'll say I tend to, teeny little background to make this make sense. So I work in the trades. I work with people in the trades. I used to be in the trades myself, and I see a lot of these guys who come to me need help with their marketing and their digital presence, and I want to help them because I can relate to where they've been.
Yeah.
I should not tell everyone that I can help them, because if they don't have the revenue and the funds, I can't crawl them out of this hole, right?
Yeah.
Or they're just not established enough to do things. And so I had multiple businesses last year that came to me, and they were new in business. Like less than 6 months. And I was like, yeah, like here's the fee, like for ours, like our agency fee to do all these things, and we are severely underpriced as it is, like honestly, for everything that we provide. And then here's like how much your ad spend needs to be, and here's how much time you need to give it to commit. So like it's a bigger investment to make these things work, but like that marketing takes time, and that just is how it is, and you can't get around it. And so there's multiple businesses I took on last year, and I had one that was a really bad falling out. And I should have seen it. There were so many red flags. He had worked with 6 different marketing agencies before me. And I was like, oh, well, I can totally fix this. And I'll say I did a better job than most of them, but I couldn't be a savior. And that's the big thing. Like, I can't look at it as like I can save everyone. Because even if I can help them, if cash runs tight because they don't have their reserves, or they're just new in business and they just haven't been established long enough, like they're going to run out of funds, and then they're going to look to me and they're going to blame me, when really that's not the case. Like, you have to have money for ad spend. It just is what it is. And we did a good job, but we're only 30 days in, and he's like, I only converted 1. And I was like, 1 conversion in your first 30 days is pretty good. I mean, again, there's a lot more context behind that, but it was just a hard lesson that I learned in. I have to, vet a lot better before someone comes in, and just because I can relate to them and I see where we used to be when we were getting started doesn't mean that I should help them. That was really hard.
Yeah, because you're not only protecting your time in that case, but you're also protecting their time. And you almost have to bring, while you don't want to harm the potential of earning the business, but you almost want to bring them down to reality, you know, because I think especially when you're trying to grow, get a business off the ground, and really, I mean, you're just trying to do whatever you can, learn about whatever you can that can help cash flow come through the door.
Yep.
And sure, like there's things that maybe you could swing, depending on your revenue level and what your business is. But the reality of being able to make the investment into systems, I mean, that is very rare to be able to do early on in your business.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, and honestly, I'm the believer that at some point, you know, you really have to work in the systems in your business to be able to see the faults, to be able to bring someone, you know, in to be able to say like, hey, this is what's not working.
Yes.
And be able to work to make it make sense.
Yep. 100%.
And our business works the same way. I mean, we definitely have a demographic of people that we work with most commonly that it makes sense. But, you know, I think I've just started to realize that, you know, early on, I really just wanted to get revenue coming through the door.
Right.
And you know what? I will give it to me. And this was something that was really important to me. No matter what, I was not going to sacrifice my integrity trying to get revenue coming through the door.
Yes.
That was something that was really important to me. If I started sacrificing my integrity and my reputation, then I made a promise to myself that I would no longer be in this business. And I'm thankful I haven't had to do that. But I have even learned over time that, you know what, saying yes to the wrong client drains me.
Yeah.
It makes me more overwhelmed. It makes me, honestly, it just makes me feel like I'm not meant to be in this business, you know, sometimes because because the conversations just flow different and the respect of your time is very, very different.
Yep.
And just like I'm going to respect every person's time that carves out to come to meet with me in whatever form, personal or professional, I expect the same.
100%.
And that's not always the case. And I'll also speak to, because you already mentioned it, you know, saying yes to the wrong clients or commitments. It just, I have realized that, again, kind of similar to the tune we were talking about earlier, I just have to kind of hit that nail on the butt, like early on. If I don't, then it makes the conversation so much harder later. And you know what? I'll say this. You can't go into every conversation analyzing whether this person is going to be the right fit, especially that initial meeting. But really, it comes down to trusting your gut and asking yourself, if you're a person that feels drained by having conversations with people, the wrong people, or, you know, I've realized that I'm an extrovert, obviously. And based on a conversation, if I feel like I'm having to pull words out of someone or that the conversation isn't naturally flowing, then it's either not the right time or not the right relationship. And that's hard, which is kind of funny. I got to see the irony in this because I married the man that I had to pull words out of. So give it time.
Right.
But it's kind of funny. But I mean, there are just people that you really click with from the get-go. And, you know, but sometimes those people that you click with, they end up, you know, being the ones that don't end up working out in the long run. So it really, you can't, I say all this to say, you can't vet people and know 100% of the time on that first meeting.
No.
And even after years, people can still surprise you. But I will continue to tell people that look for people that respect your time. Don't say yes to a client just because of a dollar amount.
Yeah.
Especially if that relationship drains you or it doesn't or there's a catch to it.
Yes.
Like you have to become something different in order to work with them, because ultimately your business is going to thrive by being you.
100%.
And you have to believe in that. But it's hard to turn down dollars to really stick with that sometimes.
It can be, and I think you have to go into business with that mindset of like what you said earlier of like, I will not sacrifice my integrity. I won't sacrifice, you know, XYZ to be able to do business with people. And I won't say yes just because of the money, because there were instances where in our home service business and even in my business now where like if something felt unaligned or we needed the money, but the people that, you know, with home services, you can't control if someone's going to do it or not.
No.
And like no matter how badly we needed the money, we treated every consultation, every estimate the exact same, because we had to, because it doesn't matter if we need the money. If it's not the right fit for them or the right time, then they don't need to say yes.
Yeah.
And the same goes for, I distinctly remember talking with someone and she was draining me immediately. And it was the tiniest system set up, which already tends to have problems. Like if it's not at a certain threshold, and she was already talking budget, and I respect that, but I was like, here's what we could do, and this, and she just kept going back and forth, and I never sent the proposal. And I don't normally do that, but I just didn't respond. It was right before the holidays too, so I was like, you know what, if she reaches back out, I'll address it, but otherwise,
I'm just gonna let it
I'm
fall
just
off.
gonna let it, I'm just gonna let it fall off. And it wasn't an aligned industry to begin with. It was a random referral from a podcast that I was on.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was sticky all around. And I just was like, I don't want to send this proposal. And we were in a slow season in the business, and like, the money might have been nice, but I had also just gone through the issue with the other client I talked about. And I was like, the good clients are really easy to work with and the money flows. The hard clients are like nickel and diming you, and they drain every ounce of my energy, and then I end up not making more money because all my time is spent with them.
Yes. And I'll also say this, because this is something that I have had to learn, is that, you know, I've had some situations happen recently where there's a client where, you know, it's more of a long-term relationship that you're hoping to build, but, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is that doesn't mean that you have to have a confrontational conversation with them. Sometimes they will just naturally fall off.
Yeah.
And that's hard, because, you know, all that you can do is just be you, be the person that you're hoping to be, provide the best service that you can. But you know what, if it's not meant to be. But I had to learn that, because I had the personality that when I had my mind set up that it wasn't in alignment, that I had to take care of it. And I don't like confrontation, but it's almost like when you have your mind decided on something and you know it's the right, like why not just do what's going to happen naturally anyways. But really, I don't know. I've learned that sometimes you just got to let them fall off on their own time and just realize that you are a part of their story for a reason.
Yeah.
And I was reminded of something this morning when I got a coffee meeting with a woman who is absolutely amazing. And she was like, you know what, sometimes you are in people's life for a season and your purpose is just to be a light in their life. And that is a way that you can express your faith, or just overall just who you are as a person. And maybe that's just checking in to see how their day is going, or just being a bright light, or saying like, hey, how can I pray for you? Or like, there are so many ways that you can be a blessing to others that maybe it's not the same, but you know what? That's just that's a special gift that we were given, because we get to interact with so many people every day. Not everybody gets to do that.
Yeah.
But you know, that saying, like, leave it better than you found it, can really come into play here, because even if it comes down to it's not the right fit, or I'm not saying yes this time, that does not mean that you cannot be a blessing to that person and that you can't leave them better than you found them.
I love that. That's so true.
So, well, thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed the conversation today. Stay tuned for our next episode.